Okay, so good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew. You can hear me. It's Matthew. Sorry, I thought I clicked someone. Okay, so good evening, everyone. So as we all know, this is Design Space. I'm Matthew speaking. You can call me King Matt. So last week we discussed about the introduction to design. We talked about the importance, what you can do, and different types of design. So today we are going to be explaining about the principle and the elements of design. Whenever we start a course, there have to be some introduction. There have to be some basic knowledge that you need to know about design. So that is basically what we are doing. So I can see Godwill's Toro. I don't know if I'm correct with that pronunciation. I can see Ilisomi Daniel Ayobami. Welcome, and I can see Adekola Abiodun. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing my screen. I need you to tell me if you can. See my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Maybe you can see my screen.
Yes, you can see us, man.
Okay, so let me see. Percent. Okay, so my screen is still loading. Still loading. Still loading. Okay, so this was from the last class. From the last class, we discussed about the introduction of design. Here we talk about the overview, the introduction, the definition, types of design. We explain the importance, the functionality, the aesthetic, the branding, the user experience, the innovation. We explain the types of graphic design, which we mentioned. The types of design, which we mentioned the graphic design. We mentioned the product design. We mentioned the fashion design. We mentioned the interior design. We mentioned web design. We mentioned. Sorry, I need to make some fix. We mentioned web design, and so today here we are going to be talking about the elements and principles of design. So we see it's like a subset still under the introduction of design. So we're going to move on. So today, the overview of what we are going to do today is design elements, like I mentioned, design element and the principle of design. So when they say element is something, element is like the building block. Whenever they say, okay, I want to make block. Okay, let's say I want to make block, for instance. What are the elements of making block? The element of making a block is sand and cement, sand, cement, and water. Those are the basic things that are like those are the basic components of making a block. Those are the basic components of a block. So that is exactly what elements mean. But what are the basic elements of building a house? Basic elements of building a house are block, cement, sand, wood. You get roofing sheet. Those are the basic elements of making a house. What are the basic elements of cooking a stew? At least you have your pepper, you have your tomato, you have your oil. Those are the basic things, and salt. Like those are the basic things that needs you to get that stuff done. So that is exactly what we are going to be seeing today. We are going to be talking about the basic elements and the principle of design. Yeah, I mentioned that design elements are the building blocks. Like I explained earlier, they are the building blocks used by designers to create visually appealing and effective designs. Do you get what I'm saying? Oh, sorry, yes, a duplicate here. This is just one, supposed to be one. So I said design elements are the building blocks used by designers to create visually appealing and effective designs. You get, so it has explained it itself. They are building blocks, like they are simple things. They are the major components. Let me put it that way. They are the major components. The simplest thing I could have found is building blocks. Just imagine design as a house. You get, so design elements are the building blocks used by designers to create visually appealing and effective designs. So these elements, they include, for instance, elements to build a house. I mentioned block, I mentioned cement, I mentioned concrete or whatever. I mentioned concrete or whatever. So here I mentioned, yeah, I said design elements. So one design element here that we're going to be looking at is line. Line is a continuous. mark made on the surface which can be used to define shape, create textures, and convey information. See, line is like one of the primary design elements. Mention any design, any element of design, any design that you see that is not a component of line. Imagine the line that you see here. Imagine one, you want to write one. One is comprised of a line. You want to write two, it's comprised of a curved line. Do you get what I'm saying? Imagine I want to write two, I want to write three. Everything are basic and major components of line. You get, imagine I want to write design element. Everything here you are seeing is as a result of line joining from one point to another. So one of the major components of design is line. And yeah, they said a continuous mark made on the surface which can be used to define shape. So line can be used to make shape, it can be used to create textures, and it can be used to convey information. Okay, that is one of the design elements. Here we mentioned shapes. Sorry, wait some people. Yeah, I mentioned shapes. Yeah, I said shape is a defined area created by lines, color, or texture. When I said shapes, shape is something that already have a name. We know about triangle, we know about rectangle, we know about polygons, we know about pentagon, hexagon, decagon, or whatever it is. You said it's a defined area. When you say defined, for instance, it is defined that a triangle a triangle has to be three lines that meet each other. Do you get what I'm saying? So it is defined already. That is what make it a shape. A triangle, do you get what I'm saying? A shape is a defined area created by line. If it is four lines that comes together to make a shape, then it's called a rectangle. That is why it's called a defined area. So it is called a shape, a defined area created by lines, color, or texture. Shapes can be geometric or organic and can create a sense of balance, harmony, or tension. You get what I'm saying? There's rectangle, there's decagon, that's where polygon comes in. Like, imagine there's where star comes into. That is where different forms of shapes comes in. So, and that is that. So we are going to move to form. Here, what I mean by form, I'm talking about probably volume. Like, I'm looking at form and volume. I'm putting at form. When I mean form, it could be in terms of perspective. Let me put it that way. There's something they call 3D and 2D. There's what they call 3D perspective, and there's something they call 2D perspective. Do you get what I'm saying? It's for instance, I said here that the three-dimensional version of a shape forms can be a solid or hollow and can create a sense of depth, volume, or weight. So it's just like whenever you are creating something. When I mean 3D, 3D means the full meaning of 3D means three dimensions. It's just like you are drawing a shape that shows the height, the breadth, and the length. You get what I'm saying? It is showing the depth. Imagine you are drawing a cup and you are showing three sides. You are not just drawing a cup that is like a flat design that is just showing the length and breadth, but you are making an illustration of something that is showing the breadth, the height, and the length. Do you get what I'm saying? So those are the forms at which the shapes can come in. You can draw a star in 3D. You can draw whatever you want to draw in 3D. The three-dimensional version of a shape. Do you get what I'm saying? It can be solid, it can be hollow. When I mean hollow, like it can have a hole inside and it can create a sense of depth. It can create a sense of volume and a sense of weight. So let's move to the fourth one. Here I said space. Space too is also an element of design because space is the area between and around elements in the design. Imagine all of this place here. Can you see all of this space here? The space between all of this space is a space and it's an element of design. Space is very required in design. Imagine all of this place is jam packed. This is not going to be called a design. Imagine all this place. Imagine there is no space between this line and this line. Imagine there is no space between line A and line B. So space is definitely an element of design. Yeah, I said the area between and around elements in a design. Space can create a sense of balance, contrast, and hierarchy. Like those are major things that space does. It creates a sense of balance. It creates contrast and also creates hierarchy. So number five here, I mentioned um I mentioned texture. So texture, the surface quality of an element in design. Do you get what I'm saying? When I say texture, if you look at this design very well, you will notice that there is something in the background. There is something in the background that make it look like a pattern. There are some kind of texture that there's some design that you see some texture that that looks like as if it was made on a wood. There's some types of design that makes it look as if the design was made on a wall. There's some kind of design that makes it look like as if the design was made on a paper. So like I mentioned here, the surface quality of an element in a design. Texture can create a sense of depth. It can create contrast or tactility. Do you get what I'm saying? It creates how original that design can be. I think that's the closest word. Like it makes your design looks original. So that is what texture does. Yeah. So color too. Color is another major element of design. Like I mentioned, the hue, value, the saturation of an element in a design. Color can create a sense of emotion, mood, or contrast. Imagine you see a red design or you see a pink design. You should know how a pink design or a red design can be related to love. Do you get what I'm saying? Or emotions. And also that same red design, there's some design that I read that what it's telling you is about danger. Do you get what I'm saying? Red could be danger and it could also depict love. It depends on how the red is being used. That is why there is hues and there are values. There are some shades of red. There are some red that are not so red. Do you get what I'm saying? What I mean is that there are different values of red. There are different values of red. That is what I mean by the hues, the value, and the saturation of an element in the design. There are red that are very faint. So those faint red cannot really depict blood or danger. You get what I'm saying? Any road sign, imagine road sign that you see on the road. eh, the kind of red that they're going to use to make that road sign is going to be so bold and very vibrant that whenever you see it, it's going to be very obvious. So those are elements of design. Every color has the role it plays in your brain. It has different forms of interpretation in your brain. So that's how color does. It creates sense of emotion, it creates moods, and it creates contrast. Okay, so let's move to the next thing. Here I said value. Value elements of design too can be value. It is value. The value is part of it. So, like I mentioned here, I said the likeness or darkness of an element in the design. Do you get what I'm saying? There's what they call transparency in design. Okay, you can type a text and decide to make it opaque. When I mean something is opaque, it's like it is kind of transparent. It is looking as if you are looking through a glass. Do you get what I'm saying? When something is opaque means you can see through that stuff. You can see through it. So some design tool will name it transparency or you can call it opacity. Do you get what I'm saying? So the brightness or darkness of an element in a design. Value can create a sense of depth, contrast, and mood. Do you get what I'm saying? If you look at this look at this design, look at this slide, for instance. This slide, the black that I use here, it is not the black. When I mean it's not the black, it is not the total black that I use. I'm using a shade of black. Thank God. Look at my screen here. Look at this side of the screen. This side of the screen. This this side of the screen is very black. Do you get what I'm saying? This side of the screen is very black, and this side here is not as black as this point. So that is what they call contrast. Contrast means you can differentiate between two elements. For instance, look at this white and the background. You can differentiate very well. You can see this text, this text that is written design element. You can see it very well and separate from the background. That is what contrast means. It helps to create depth and mood. Also, yeah, size. I mentioned size. So what I mean by size as an element is the relative scale of an element in a design. Look at the size of this design. Look at what I use here. Look at the size of this word design element compared to what is here. On a normal day, when you see this, you should know probably automatically, someone that an average person should know that this design element is like an headline for what is here, or whatever that is here. This is an headline of what is here. When I say design element, so my brain should automatically tell me that whatever thing that is under this design element is explaining design elements. Do you get what I'm saying? That is what size does. You get that is what size does. I said here, relative scale of an element in a design. Size can create a sense of hierarchy, emphasis, and proportion. See, the emphasis is placed here. Look at this place here too. Emphasis too was created here. I created emphasis here to make it show the emphasis I created here is making it show as if this is a note. When I say okay, just imagine you are taking notes in class and I have to note it down. or there are some, or I asked to highlight something. That is exactly what I did there. Whatever you highlight, it's telling you that you have to take note of this thing very well. So yeah, I mentioned that this design element in creating helps in create in creative ways. I said this design element in creative ways helps designers to create designs that are visually appealing, functional, and communicate their intended message effectively. So yeah, let's come back here to size. Like I mentioned, the relative scale of an element. Now imagine that I took. Let me stop presenting. Let me stop presenting. All right. All right. Imagine that here now. Sorry, I'm on this slide. Okay, so let us imagine that here on this design. Let's imagine that this design element, I made this design element very small like this. Imagine I made this design element very small. Your attention will not be brought here. Like you'll be confused that okay, what are these things talking about? You get, you'll be confused that okay, what is this part? What is number 7 talking about? You get what I'm saying? Look at the way I made it too small. That is how white size is very important. But if it is like this, can you see how big this is? It is telling me that this is an headline, and anything that you see that is under it is probably explaining design elements. So that is exactly what size does. It creates a sense of hierarchy, empathy, or proportion. Yeah, so proportion too is also here. I said proportion is the relationship between elements in a design. Proportion can create a sense of balance, harmony, and tension. Let us imagine. No, let's imagine that I do something. Let's imagine that I do like this. Let's imagine that I'm doing this design here. I bring this design here. Like this. Imagine I bring this design here. Trying to give some kind of illustration. I bring design. A normal person, I don't know how you're going to read it, but I'm very sure you can. Okay, let me just give you 1 second to tell me how you read this design, like how you read design, what you read first. Like, is it this one? Let me do it as number one, number two, number three, number four. Do you get number one, number two, number three, number four? I want you to tell me the alignment, the how would I say? I want you to tell me how you read them. Probably you read number one first, then you read number three first, then you read number four first. You get, and you come and read number two. You get, can you just type it in the chat box? I want to know the order. Yes, I want to know the order at which you read those that you read this design. I want to know. Can you just type it in the chat box? I want to know the order at which you saw the design or the order at which you read it. I want to see response in the chat box. I want to know this is number one, this is number two, number three, number four. What In what order did you read? You read this design? Do you read this one first, or you read this one first, or you read this one first, or you read this one first? I want to know which one you read first. I'm waiting for response. I'm waiting for response. Okay. You said 1, 3, 2, 4. Okay, let me check it. 1, 3, 2, 4. Okay. I want to get response from someone else. I want to get at least 3 response. I want to get at least 3 response. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Who else? Who else? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you are telling me that you read it 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, okay, that's nice. Who else? I need one more response. One more response. Still waiting. I need one more response. Okay, 1, 3, 2, 4. Okay, so we said you read it 1, 3, 2. No, 1, 3, 2, 4. Okay, so basically, I would 2 people say the same thing, and I will actually go with them because Normally, whenever you are reading, you read from the left to right. You read from left to right, and you read on the left first before you come to the right. You read whatever is on the left before you go to the right. That is how people read, basically in the Western world here. For instance, let's imagine this is a Bible. Let's imagine this is a Bible with two pages, and let me divide this page like this. Do you get? Let's imagine this is page one and this is page two. Do you get? This is a column. Let me put that. This is a column. Definitely, whenever you want to read, you will never read this first and come and read this as second. No, you will read this and read everything that is under it. You will continue to read this. You get what I'm saying? Then you come back here to the top again, read this and read this. Definitely, the correct one is number one, number three, number two, and number four. That is the order at which we read or we write here in the Western world. So what I'm telling you is, I'm trying to explain proportion. Proportion is in such a way that anything that you see that is under something, you think like automatically you think is a subset or a continuation of what is at the top. Do you get what I'm saying? That is where hierarchy and proportion plays its role. Hierarchy, proportion, and size. That's how they play their role. So that is, for instance, here. Let me go back to the way this design was before. Sorry. That's my preset. This is how the original design was. So basically, I was talking about design elements. So explaining design element, this will have explained design elements more because I am seeing explaining design elements. I mean design elements. I'm talking about the values, the size, and the proportion on this slide. Then a normal person will, an average person will read this, we read this, we read this, then we read this. Do you get what I'm saying? You will not come to read this before you read this because even I put more emphasis on this. Yeah, I'm telling you that proportion, the relationship between elements in design. Definitely, I'm telling you that there's a relationship between this heading and this subheading. That is exactly what I'm trying to tell you. There's a relation. That is what proportion means. There's a relationship between this and this. Do you get? There's also a relationship between this and this because this is under this one. Do you get what I'm saying? So here I mentioned that these design elements in creative way helps designer to create design that are visually appealing, functional, and communicate their intended message effectively. Here I mentioned here that design elements are important because they help to communicate a message, create visual appealing, improve functionality. When I mean yes, I mentioned improve functionality, create consistency, and differentiate and invoke emotion. Those are the major things that design element does. Those are the major things that design element does. So here I'm going to be moving to design principles. When I mean principle, okay, whenever you want to cook, there are principles that you need to cook. You want to boil water, you will not first put the pot on fire and allow it to eat before you put your water. No, that is not the principle of boiling water. That is not the principle of making rice. You will not first put your rice on fire. You will first pour your water inside the pot. Then the water together with the pot, then you put on fire. I don't know you other people cook their rice, but I know that is the basic principle of cooking rice. You put the water in the pot first. You get before you ignite fire under it. So designs to their principles to making good designs. So here I mentioned balance. When I mean balance, balance means the distribution of visual weight in a design. Balance can be symmetrical, asymmetrical, and can create a sense of stability or tension. Look at this design. This this part of design, we look at it very well. It is balancing with this part of the design. You will notice that I put three keywords here and also three options here. Number one, I put number one, number two, and number three here. And I also put number four, number five, and number six here. I did not put number four, number five, number six, and number seven here. If I have done that, then it is not balanced. That is ways to create balance in design. Those are ways to create balance in design. It is looking like if you look at it visually, it looks like this right side is balancing with this side. This side is not too heavy than this side. You get what I'm saying? This side is not heavier than this side. Whenever you are looking at balance, always have this in mind that every visual element has a kind of visual weight. Yes, they have a kind of visual weight. So they said the distribution of visual weight. Imagine whenever you are making your design, left and right, always make it in your head as if you are weighing a scale. You are putting those design elements on the scale. to make it balanced. Yes, a distribution of visual weight in a design. Balance can be symmetrical, or when I mean symmetrical, this could be something like this. I'm going to be creating some stuff. Let me create something. Let me create something. Balance could be in something like this. Balance. Sorry. I hope you can still see my screen. So I do everything. So let me click it in there. Red. Maybe it's in there. Blue. So this is balance. This is asymmetric balance. When I mean asymmetric balance, this side is the same thing. This side is the same thing as this side, and they are also equal. Do you get what I'm saying? This is symmetric balance. Like this side is the same thing as this side. The weight, the spacing between them is the same thing as this side. Do you get what I'm saying? That is what I mean by symmetric balance. That is the same thing I mean here by symmetrical balance and asymmetrical balance. So what I mean by asymmetrical balance is such a way that let me click asymmetrical balance. Asymmetrical balance can be like this. Symmetrical balance can be like symmetrical balance can be like this. Sorry. Symmetrical balance can be used. Symmetrical balance. So you want to tell me that this thing is not balanced? I want to see your response on the chat box. I want you to tell me that is this balanced or not? Is it balanced or not? I want to see your response on the chat box. Is this balanced or it's not balanced? I want to know, like visually, is it balanced or is not balanced? You can reply on the chat box. The chat box, I mean. Yes, because this is what they call asymmetrical balance. It could be in any form, but in as much as it's balanced, one side is balanced with the other side. Even if it's just only the red, it's balanced. Everything is balanced. If it's just only the blue, it is balanced. If it's just red box, it's balanced. If it's just blue box, it's balanced. So that is the difference between symmetrical and asymmetrical balance. So let's move on. Okay, so I mentioned contrast, the use of difference in color. When I mean contrast, the use contrast can apply to different things. It applies to color, it applies to shapes, to size, applies to shape, it applies to texture. You get and one major thing that contrast does is it creates difference and emphasis. I'm going to illustrate it. When I mean something creates when I mean something contrast, what I mean contrast. Contrast are called something like this. Imagine this is a screen. I type something. Yes. Type contrast. Like this. Imagine I type this like this. I hope you can see this very well. I'm very sure you can see this very well. This is contrast. Compare this with this. Compare this with this. How well can you see? Which one can you see better? A or B? This is A. This is B. Which one can you see better? I want you to respond on the chat box. A, good. So I want more people. It's only one person that is responding. I want more people to respond. I want more people to respond. So that's how I will know if other people are in this class. I want more people to respond. Let me start calling names. I need to leave people in this class. Okay, yes, A. So thank you. So that is what contrast does. It's telling me that there is a difference between this one and this one. It's even here I can barely see the word contrast. I can barely see because there's basically no difference between this color and this color. There's just a slight difference. But here there's a big difference between this one and this one. That is what contrast does. That's what contrast does. So okay, let's move on. You can use texture and you can use to create emphasis too. Okay, so let me create look at what I said. I said emphasis. I said emphasis is the use of visual elements to draw attention to a specific area. I'm going to illustrate that. So look at what I said. The use of visual element. Visual element, it could be shapes, it could be text, it could be picture, it could be anything to draw attention to a specific area or element in a design. So I'm going to use an illustration. So let's imagine that I said, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to illustrate emphasis. Let me say buy now. I said buy now. Yeah. I created something else. I said $6. Let me say $500. I said buy now. I said $500. And I made this $500 small. Or let me say the MacBook. The MacBook Pro. MacBook Pro. Buy now. I don't type it as buy now. MacBook Pro. You get what I'm saying? Looking at this thing from afar, the first thing that you are going to see now is buy now. Like basically the information I want you to know is buy now. Just click buy now. You get all what I just want you to know that probably let me say MacBook at $500. MacBook is not $500, it's more than $500. Let's say that MacBook is still promo. You get what I'm saying? I say buy now, MacBook Pro $500. Do you get what I'm saying? So basically what I am selling is buy now. Imagine, let me even do something there and I add a button, add more emphasis on it like this. Okay, do something like this. Do something like this. Even the buy now has overshadowed the MacBook Pro. I did something like this. Buy now. And I put MacBook Pro. Seeing this from afar, you might not even see the MacBook Pro. You might not even see what you are buying. But what you are going to see is buy now. Or what I'm trying just telling you, just buy now, buy now. This is what emphasis does. Because I have created emphasis on the buy now. The color here, the color of this button has created emphasis. Like there's a contrast. There are three things that are working here now. There are three things that are working. Hierarchy is working. What I mean hierarchy is playing with size. The size of the buy now is so big that it's very obvious. Size is playing its role here. Hierarchy is playing its role here. Color is playing its role here. And what else? Contrast is playing its role. Let's imagine that I give this thing this color. That is how you know that color plays its role. Let's imagine color is like this. How will you be drawn? You will really be drawn to buy now. Look at the color. The color of the buy of the rectangle under buy now is almost the same as what is on the background. You know what I'm saying? But if it is something like this, can you see? I'm giving it kind of black. This is a good contrast. When in contrast, there's a difference between this and the background, so you can see it very well. That is what contrast does. I am creating a contrast between this and the background. That's what contrast does. So when I'm creating a contrast, I am creating an emphasis on this. Like it's as if I am shouting. That's what emphasis does. I am shouting, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now. That's basically what I'm doing here. I'm basically telling you to buy now. I don't even want to hear anything that you're saying. Just buy now. Okay, an example is let me search online and tell you. I'm going to use a real life example. Let me just search POS banner. People know the way POS banner used to look like now. A random POS banner. Good. Let me share my screen. You know how a random POS banner used to look like. Let me show you. POS banner. Share. I hope you can see my screen. Look at a POS banner. This is a typical POS banner. Like a typical POS banner will always have POS on it. Like look at this. Like it is always very big. POS. There are some. The POS will be so big. Look at another one. This is typical POS. See, they don't want you to see anything. In as much you just all what they want to see here is POS. If you can see POS and this device, forget you're already doing POS. Like it will locate you, no matter where you are, even if you are in the no matter where you are, even if you are inside a hole, they will find you out. In as much they must not just see this thing. Look at the red. Most of the time they will use red and white because your eye sees red faster. You notice POS. Look at this one too. POS. That is how POS finance does. Like if you notice that red color is very prominent, you will always see the POS, POS. That is an example. Can you see POS? You can say cash withdrawal, cash transfer, deposit, whatever. Everything is always there. POS. That POS is very, very prominent. Even till today, many people they don't know the full meaning of POS. All it always POS. Due to what it has been well known for. Do you get what I'm saying? So that is what design can do. That's what design can do. So that is an example of what emphasis, color, and all of these things can do. So let's go back to our slide. Go back to our slide. So that is what I just illustrated here. So let's move on. Yeah, I said unity, the use of consistent design element to create a sense of cohesiveness and harmony in design. Yeah, that is what when I say harmony. So harmony works in this way. For instance, let me use this. Look at this stuff here. For instance, look at the first class design and the second class design. They are looking kind of similar. You get they are looking harmonious. When I mean harmonious, in such a way that you will know that oh, the last person, the last class is a continuation of the last class. Oh, it is the last person that hosted this, the last class that is also hosting this one. That is what design does. It's just like you are imagine MTN today on let's say imagine MTN every January MTN is yellow, February MTN is blue, March MTN is purple. You will anywhere you see MTN, you don't even know which is the fake MTN or the original MTN. You get what I'm saying? That's what harmony does. And MTN is always the way it is. That is how it's going to be across everywhere. That is what unity does. So I already mentioned proportion. Yes, I've explained proportion, the relationship between elements in the design. So let me look for one fly. Let me look for a flyer. I need to explain that. Okay, let me just come. Let me come here for instance. Okay, look at what I mean. Look at this design. Design for instance. So this is what we used. Going to explain. Yeah, let's say proportion. The relationship between elements in design. It can create some sense of. So I'm trying to explain proportion in another way. When they say the relationship, imagine that look at this design. Imagine that the topic. You know, this is the topic. Normally, when you see all this church flyer, you see team, we are inviting you to a Kinikon Days Revival. And after that, you see the venue. It is the same place where you see the venue, you're going to see the time, like the same area of space where you see venue, where you see time, is where you will see the days, you know what I'm saying, and the address of where the event is going to take place. You know what I'm saying? It is very weird for you to see the time or for you to first see the time of the event. Just imagine I wrote here that okay, this class I wrote 8 p.m. Just imagine the design like this 8 p.m. and I came here to come and write where 8 p.m. is here. And I came here to write principles of design. Like how does this design look? Like does it make any sense? Because there is no relationship between this, there's no relationship between principle of design and the date that is here. There is no relationship between principles of design and where it's going to hold. Do you get what I'm saying? So that is how design works. Let me so I'm trying to tell you is that elements and principle of design. Do you get what I'm saying? It's under introduction of design. I am trying to tell you that okay, so person is hosting this class and is going to host this class live on Google Meet, and this is the time, this is the date. Do you get what I'm saying? That is how proportion works. Proportion works in such a way that it's creating a relation that there's a relationship with this Google Meet and the time. And then okay, imagine why do you think I put all these things together? Because there's a relationship between the date and the time. Like they go hand in hand. There's a relationship between the person and where the class is going to hold. Do you get what I'm saying? That is how design works. That is how proportion is create relationship. So repetition, the use of the use and repetition or repeating design elements to create a sense of unity and consistency. Yes, one major importance of repetition is consistency. Yes, one major importance of repetition is consistency. Like I mentioned, MTN. Imagine MTN is using today they are color blue, tomorrow they are color yellow, next tomorrow they are color red. They are not consistent. They are design. Nobody will take them seriously. That's what consistency does. That is what repetition does. Okay, that is what repetition does. Okay, so basically that is one. Those are the major things that uh, we need to explain. So here I mentioned about alignment. Alignment, the arrangement of elements designed along a common axis. Look at this design. I'm going to illustrate something. This is alignment. Alignment. This text is aligned to the left. When I mean something is aligned to the left, it's as if we are arranging it, we are building it to the left. It's being, this place is straight, it's being aligned to the left. If I click on it now, I can align it to the center. Can you see? It is being aligned to the center. This center alignment. And I can also align it to the right. You see, the right side is straight. But like this, it's going to be hard for you to reach because you will not be able to get it well. Imagine you type a document and the document is aligned to the right. How will you be able to do this? Do you get? So now I mentioned earlier that we read from the left to the right. That is how our eyes read from the left to the right. That's how our reading system has been. So you click on it. Imagine it's easier to read this way. Left to the right, left to the right, left to the right. Do you get? So that is what alignment is. The arrangement of elements in a design along a common axis. So the common axis here is this place, the left here. Along a common axis, alignment can create a sense of order and combination. That is just basically what it does. It creates a sense of order. It does not make your work scatter. It does not make it feel like, oh, you don't do this, you don't do this anyhow. So also I have explained hierarchy. Hierarchy is the use of visual clues mentioned here. Sorry, hierarchy, the use of visual clues such as size, color, or position to create a sense of importance. Like I mentioned, hierarchy, anything that is at the top, like whenever you read, there's a psychology behind looking at design or reading. Note that whenever you are looking at the design, you start from the top left. That is the normal way you read. You read from the left to the right. You get, you tend, like there is more probability that you read what is on the top and at the left first. You get, especially if that thing is now big. Look at newspaper. You write it that, oh, okay, there is this news that was trending today. This footballer that the wife divorced him. Imagine when the headline came out, so footballer, his wife divorced him, like now divorced. Look, I'm just thinking about headline. Okay, footballer A divorced his wife. You get what I'm saying? You'll be triggered to go and read it, even if it's on a magazine. That heading is going to be so big in such a way that, and it's going to be at the top. That is what's going to make you read the content of it. That is what hierarchy does. Is size, in color, and in position. The position make it give it a kind of priority for you to read. It tends to read what is bigger first than what is smaller. So that is what hierarchy does. So I already mentioned white space. White space is the use of empty space around design element to create. White space can be in form of margin. Imagine that all these designs, just imagine that these designs are like this. Just imagine I made these designs like this. I made design like this. And there's no margin. How does this design look like? How does it does it does not look aligned because there's no breathing space here. There's no breathing space. That is one example of what white space does. It gives your design a breathing space. It doesn't make your design look choked. You get, you can see here. I said by using this principle, designer can create designs that are easy to understand. They are visually engaging. I want you to take note of that. When something you can visually, for instance, there's all these. Imagine when Airtel was doing this their advert 444. You get, there is this advert of Airtel 444. I hope you know about that advert. If they did not make, imagine when that 444 is displayed on your TV. Imagine they not make it small, 444, something very small. Do you think you are going to remember it? Whenever they mention that word 444, that word 444 will be so big on your screen in such a way that you will always remember. You will not forget. You will not forget 444. That is exactly what size does. That is exactly what design does. So he said it's easy to understand, visually engaging, and memorable. something that you can remember. It's just have you seen someone that goes in front of a big board with a biro and a paper and start writing down the information that is there? Even give me a response. I want to know who, like, give me who is a person. Give me like what kind of personality is a person goes in front of a big board and start jotting down the information that I see in front of a big board. Can you tell me what can I call that person? Type it in the chat box. I want to know if you understand what I'm saying here. Imagine you see someone, he saw an advert, the person saw an advert, and the person wait, brought out his jotting pen, do you get what I'm saying? And started writing down the information on the design. Who will you call the person? What type of person is that? I need response. So I need response. Ah, person say Aboki. I need response because actually it is not normal. Any person that you see that is doing that, basically there are two ways. Either the design is bad, number one, or the person is not normal, sincerely. And the person is not normal. A sane person will not wait and be looking at probably the person, any person that will do that, the person does not have what is
No-
yeah,
Nobody even does that. It's kind
like
of rare for anybody to do
it's
that
kind of,
kind
do
of
you
thing.
get? So I'm trying to say that anybody that does that,
It's very
they
rare.
check the person mental health. I feel they should do that. You check the person
Yeah, yeah.
mental, if or the person is okay. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I imagine I see one big board and I went to wait. Oh, they said call. I'm not writing the website down. I'm not writing. Are you okay? If you cannot grasp the information about that stuff or the name or something that you can use to set it on your phone or something, then something is wrong with the ad or with the person that is seeing the ads. You get what I'm saying? Something is either wrong with the design or the CR of the design. That is how it's in two ways. So that is basically that is basically how it goes. So yeah, I said okay, I already mentioned it. So that is basically what we have today concerning the design element and design principle. So I want to know if you have any question. Any question, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you type inside the chat box, type by the comment section and let us know question, any question, or are you confused somewhere? You want me to explain something? Okay, okay, I'm waiting.
Yeah. So my question is this. It's not really much of a question. It's like an observation. When we were talking about the principles, the guys, the paper design, yeah, you were listing them. So where my question comes in is, I want to know if like all design that you have to do they really have, do they really have to follow all these principles? It's not like alignment, hierarchy, white space, all that. That do they really have to follow all these rules? As in, I mean, every form of design you are going into, or does it? So that's I need the kind of um elaboration on that part.
Yeah, yes, I get what you're saying. So yeah, actually, every design has to have every. Just like okay, let's say, okay, I want to make a design. Yes, everything has to be aligned. Everything has to be like it has to be balanced because if these are just basic things, just like okay, let's say that we want to cook rice. We want to cook rice now. It is just normal for you that will you first eat your pot before you pour your water inside the rice inside the pot. Like, no, imagine when you want to eat your oil, when you want to fry plant, you know you have to eat your oil first. Will you first eat the pot? Like, will you first dry your pot before you even start, or do you fry your rice? I hope you get what I'm saying. Like, those are basic things that you need to put in check. Whenever, for instance, you want to cook your rice, you first put the rice, dry rice, oh, in the pot, and you allow the rice to heat to a point, and then pour water. You don't even wash it, then start rinsing it. Do you get what I'm saying? Basically, that is one of like it's just as if I went, I took my rice, I put everything inside the pot, rice, water, everything. I did not even wash it, and I cooked the rice like that. I have cooked my rice. Do you get what I'm saying? I will get the result. But it's just normal that oh, to cook a sane rice, let me put it that way, to cook a normal standard rice, that everybody can reckon with. You have to wash your rice. You have to put your water on fire. You have to wash it into it. You have to add salt. You get what I'm saying? If you don't want your rice to start gumming, you have to how would I say? You have to either sieve it or don't allow the water to be too much. You get those are basic things that you just need to know about the design. Like basic thing that let me say there are guidelines you get that needs to be put to check when making designs. That is what principles and all principles of design actually means. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you've answered it. Thank you so much.
Okay. So any other question? Any other question? Any other question before we end this class? So basically, this video is going to be uploaded on the YouTube, so you can always come back to check this video. And also, I wanted to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I also wanted to subscribe to. Let me even start sending the link here so that you can always get through. Always get it through. I wanted to subscribe to our YouTube channel. For me, and also subscribe to our blog. Because on the blog, there are a lot of things that are there that you can also use. Some people method of learning is by the blog. You get what I'm saying? It's by reading. Some people fastest method of learning is by watching videos. Do you get what I'm saying? So that is why we are diversifying the way we put out content, and also very soon we'll be putting out, how would I say it? We're putting out content on our Instagram in form of carousel or whatever. So you can always let me send the link. Send the link here. This is the blog channel, the YouTube channel. Just search any YouTube channel. You can see it by yourself. It's working on creating a separate channel for this, so don't worry, it's gonna come up very soon. I always watch it here. Oh, my network is kind of okay. So sorry. And I'm trying to search out the video. See, there's a link on the group itself. I think let me get the link on the group so that you can always get it done. Okay, got it. Okay, so that is that is basically it. So that's the YouTube link. You can always check back. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Thank you for your time. And this video is going to be available on YouTube. Do well to subscribe, to like, and also share with your friends. Yes. So next week our class is going to hold next week here. I think we'll hold next week. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and have a nice, fantastic night.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.